The Under-17 African Cup of Nations comes to a halt today. We cannot wait to see these two sides go head-to-head. They have been among the most consistent performance in the competition. The final will kick off at midnight East African time and will be watched in several parts of Africa. Gracing this final for the first time ever, the competition would say the two sides have never been to the final before. So one of the two sides will be lifting the trophy for the very first time. The time for the kickoff was a bit of a contention by fans. Well, right now we've got Andrew Oyson, a Pan-African football commentator, who is joining us to make clear what's really happening. Andrew, thank you so much for joining us on the show.
Pleasure to be here today, Onyechi. Thanks for having me.
All right, Andrew, you've got the team here, myself, Samson, and we've also got Shadi Mukatir. That's Mushkatir, if I've gotten that pronunciation. But let's go with Andrew, of course.
It's okay. It's okay. It's
Thank you so much. All right, thank you so much, Mushkatir. All right, Andrew, we'll start off with you. I mean, these are children under the age of 17 who are supposed to be in bed by 10 p.m. Now, this is looking at the kickoff set by the Confederation of African Football and the Algerian Football Association. But announcing the kickoff time of 10 p.m. midnight, and likely, if it goes longer, that they have to play an extra 30 to determine the winner. That means we are looking at an 11 p.m., 12:30 with the coronation, with the crowning, going into the midnight. Do you think this was well thought out by the Confederation of African Football and the Algerian Football Federation?
Well, I think this would be a kickoff time you would typically see during Ramadan or some situation like that. But this is a little bit unusual. But at the same time, when you're a kid, you have plenty of energy. You love staying up late. So I imagine these kids are relishing the opportunity a bit. But in all seriousness, I think it's probably a little bit later than most of us would anticipate. But at the same time, I'm not completely surprised by it. I've seen kickoff times this late in African football. The conditions will certainly be ideal for the players, hopefully.
All right. I'm sure Samson has got something to talk about.
This time controversy, or the kickoff time controversy. According to several sources, the government did adjust the time by 2 hours, and their decision is to prevent citizens from watching the game as it were. Now, that's an allegation. Unfortunately, it's also some sort of manifestation of the political tensions prevailing in the country, having had, that reflection on the game. So the question would be, should this be a deterrent to CAF awarding Algeria as host to its continental competitions? Because if host nations carry over, political tensions to footballing affairs, it doesn't spell good for the game.
Andrew, can you hear us?
Did you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, I think this is certainly a long-standing issue between Algeria and Morocco, but at the same time, these political differences shouldn't carry over into the match. But I think this kickoff time, it isn't too out of the ordinary. It definitely is a little bit late. There are stated reasons for the kickoff time. It should be a little earlier probably, but I don't think it's too out of the ordinary. It's a little bit eyebrow raising, but at the same time, when we've seen matches in these areas in the CAF Champions League and competitions like that kick off at similar times, but this is certainly a little bit later than we would normally anticipate.
Okay, I'm sure reactions coming from that kickoff time on social media, but let's look forward to today's match. It's going to be a very nice and friendly match between these two brothers, as they call each other, the two strongest football countries in Africa in our days. Without a doubt, I can say for sure that Morocco, Senegal are on a jolly ride when it comes to football development, and we are seeing the dividends of the impact, the investment they are making, especially from the cadet teams, from the senior national team down to the junior teams, which we are seeing right now. Now, Senegal and Morocco, and one we should give thumbs up. Andrew, what are these countries doing differently for dominance, for them to dominate so much on the continental scene?
Well, I think with Senegal, it's really just a concerted effort all throughout the country at every level of the footballing organization. What Senegal has is a well-known record of producing players who go and play in Europe, in France, elsewhere abroad in Europe. And many of these players, you look at the head coach of the Senegal national team, Aliou Cisse, he is a good example, have come back to the country to really launch the grassroots football in the country, as well as the domestic scene and the national team. Aliou Cisse kind of acts as the face, as the charismatic face of this effort. But you look at a couple of clubs in the country in Senegal, like Giambar, which was started by Patrick Vieira, the former French national team player. And then you look at Generation Foot, which produced Sadio Mane. They have a partnership with FC Metz in France. So you see players who previously succeeded in European football, Senegalese players, coming back to the country, starting academies, investing in the domestic scene there, and using the network that they built up as players in Europe to connect players from Senegal with better footballing opportunities abroad.
Okay, we'll be hoping that we see the dividend here for the finals of the Under-17 African Cup of Nations. Thank you so much, Andrew. I'm very sure my colleague there, Samson's also grateful for all that you've unpacked for us today on the show. We appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me.
All right, Samson, you've heard from a Pan-African commentator. He's given all the laurels, all the praises to Senegal, Morocco. They are doing something wonderful. I'm very sure you have something coming from Morocco right now.
Exactly. For the Moroccans, we know quite well this is an opportunity to lift a continental title, after the women's and men's national teams went so close with the African Women's Cup of Nations, as well as the Men's World Cup that took place in Qatar. So this is another opportunity for Moroccans, to have something to cheer in terms of winning, the trophy. So let me bring Chadi in here now. For Moroccans, what are the expectations in Rabat? What's the atmosphere like ahead of this final?
So the atmosphere is great. When the Moroccan team managed to defeat Algeria 3-0 in the quarterfinals and managed to scratch that qualification ticket, we were very happy and proud of our players. They managed to do the same as the women's under-17 team, who managed as well to qualify to the World Cup last year and play in India, and they managed to get some good results. So yeah, I think the atmosphere is great. Everyone's proud of the team, and we hope to get the title tonight.
All right, Chadi, Senegal have a better goal-scoring record. I know you'll be rooting for the Moroccans there as a patriotic Moroccan. They've got 13 goals in 5 matches and just 1 conceded. Aren't you scared? Morocco have got just 7 goals and conceded 2 goals during this tournament. Where do you think the pendulum will swing in this encounter?
Well, I think it's a final game. Everything can happen. I mean, you've seen Rosel's performance in the penalty shootouts in the semifinals against Mali. So I think we are good in terms of goalkeeping and defense. We have some pretty good talent as well, such as Zakaria Wazan, Hamouni, and Shakir. So yeah, I think that the Moroccan players are really capable and able to do some pretty good stuff in this final.
All right, in recent years, Moroccan football has been quite successful. I would give it to Fawzi Lecter's led Moroccan Football Federation. So the Lionesses of the Atlas were finalists at the last, of course, African Women's Cup of Nations and also qualified for the first Women's World Cup. The Atlas Lions were semi-finalists at the World Cup in Qatar. Now this is another team in the final. What can you attribute these successes to? Chadi, I need to know what Morocco is doing. What is the secret behind this success?
Well, I think that first of all, the management of His Majesty the King Mohammed VI and the creation of the Mohammed VI Academy in Rabat has made it clear that Morocco are not playing around, and we are trying to reach the summit of African football and do some incredible stuff. So yeah, I think that the creation of the academy and we see today so many talents who played in the academy, such as Azdin Unahi, Youssef Al-Nusayri, and many other players. Naif Agrid as well, who plays for West Ham. So I think that the pillar of the Moroccan football now is the Mohammed VI Academy.
Wow. I love this analysis coming from you, Mushtaker. Samson, remember we wanted to do a little bit of clearance for Morocco having to step back for Ivory Coast. Let's hear Shadi's concern concerning this.
Exactly. We know quite well that Morocco hosted the last CAF Women's Champions League, but this time around, you had the president say that they had to withdraw the bid due to bilateral relations with Ivory Coast. What do you make of that, and how do you think that pans forward for Morocco in terms of bidding for continental championships?
So I think that Morocco's strategy have always been helping its African counterpart. We've seen so many national teams playing their qualification games in Rabat, in Marrakesh, in Agadir. So His Majesty the King's policy has always been towards helping all our African counterparts and friends into moving on and creating a better atmosphere for football and a sane environment for African football.
All right, Shadi Mushtaker there. Thank you so much for joining us on the show.
Thank you for having me.
And I will be wishing Morocco all the best. I support Africa, so I'm for Senegal and I'm for Morocco also. Samson, aren't you?
Yeah, the same thing. We wish both teams the very best. It will be a historic one for them. So they should just go out and enjoy the game of football.